Hey y'all, welcome back to Conversations with Carrie. I am ready to talk to you guys today about how serving can be a blessing. So stay tuned, we're going to get right into it. Praise the Lord, saints! For some of y'all, that's a little old school. That's how we used to talk when I grew up in church. But hey, how y'all doing? You looking cute? Okay. Today, we're actually going to talk about the story of how Jesus turned water to wine. Now, some of y'all like, yes, child, that's my favorite. We're not going to talk about that part of it. We're going to talk about a little something else, but let's get right into the scripture. The book of John, chapter 2, verse 1. I'm really excited to get into this because as I was reading this, I've read this story several times. I think all of us have heard it, like whether you were a kid in Sunday school or maybe even new in your walk. This is one of the first miracles that Jesus performed in the chapter of John. In the book of John. And in reading this, I've always looked at it maybe from Mary's point of view. Of course, I've looked at it from Jesus's point of view. And then I've also looked at it from like the master of the feast or maybe even how the guests felt. But as I was reading this recently, I feel like the Lord called out the servant's point of view. And I really wanted to kind of break down why this is such an amazing point of view and really kind of how we can apply that to our lives as we're striving after different things that the Lord has for us. Now, I want to first just break down kind of the role of a servant. I don't know if anybody has ever been in any type of customer service role or when you've had to like physically serve others, but that role is not for the faint of heart. It is a special type of humbling that takes place when you serve others. Because first of all, people are weird. Child, say it again. People, some people ain't right. They ain't right. And as you think about like the position of a server, I've worked in retail for years, and oftentimes I can't even count how many times people didn't look me in my eye, or people used a condescending tone, or they just automatically assume like I'm better than you because you're in a position to serve me. And I think oftentimes we have to remember that, you know, just because I'm serving doesn't make me any less than you. So in this, as I read this, for one, let me say that I read this from the CLB. That's the Carrie Lee version, okay? So in my mind, I picture like Mary walking up to Jesus and saying, "Hey boo, they have no wine." And Jesus is like, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. Like, you better go on and get you some business. Go on and join Mind Your Business Ministries, as I hear they need some more members." But like in my head, that's how I saw this playing out. Like, and I was thinking, I think it's so interesting that Mary was like, "Hey, they need some more wine." And he's like, "Okay, and what's that got to do with me?" When Mary says to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Like, I immediately think of obedience. So I feel like that was the first thing that they were like, to be a great servant, to be a blessing as a servant, you have to be obedient. Now, some of y'all, me included, I'm talking about some of y'all, that just kind of makes me sometimes like, ooh, kind of hits me right here. Like, you want me to serve who? Or you want me to be obedient to who? I can't say I'm the first person to want to be like, yes, I will be obedient. I tend to want to do exactly opposite. Like, you tell me not to park there, I'm going to be like, I'm parking here, and what? And I don't expect to get a ticket. So anyway, that, as you see, the Lord's talking to me in this message as well. Jesus tells him, okay, fill these water pots with water, draw some out now, and take it to the master of the feast. These water pots were the same water pots that the Jewish people used to purify their hands, like wash their hands and stuff before joining the feast. So think about the servant. The servant's like, wait, what? You want me to go get these like water pots that people just wash their hands in and maybe, like wash their arms and stuff, and you want me to fill that with water and then dip a cup in and take it to the master of the feast? So I can only imagine that the servants are probably like, so you gonna go get it? Are you going to go get these water pots? Because I don't know, he's talking crazy. Because you always got one in the crew that is not quite obedient. They might do it, but they probably doing it with an attitude. Like, I don't know why we doing this. They probably grumbling, complaining. Think about how many times, instead of just being obedient, we've been the grumblers and complainers. That there had to be somebody in there that's somewhat similar to me that was maybe questioning. And I don't know if this is a cultural thing as well, but it's like, what are we doing that for? Or, I'm not sure I want to do that. Let me first, I would be like, Jesus, excuse me, Jesus, why are we doing that? How many times have we wanted to even ask that in our own lives? Instead of just serving him and doing what he's called us to do, we want to ask, well, why I gotta do that? Why I gotta go get those water pots? Aren't those used for like people washing their hands? What am I getting those for? The Psalms 128 says, blessed are those who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. Okay, I'm blessed if I'm obedient to him. And as we think about like being obedient to authority, you know, there's always going to be somebody above you, whether it's Uncle Sam, IRS, government, I don't know. Don't even get me started on all of that. But there's always someone that you have to be willing to humble yourself and follow along. Sometimes it's for your own preservation. And then other times like this, it could be because you're about to have front row seats to a blessing. But I love that the next verse says, and they took it. And they took it. They were told to do something. They were being obedient. They did it willingly. And they took it. They just took it up to the master of the feast. Man, how many times could we have maybe had an easier road if we had just did what the Lord told us to do? How much easier would it be if I was just obedient and I surrendered my will to the will of God? And instead of trying to do my own thing, instead of trying to make it happen or to know what's going to happen afterwards, because oftentimes my obedience is based on what I think the outcome is going to be. What if I just took it? What if I just took that cup that I just dipped in the water and took it and let Jesus do what he does? Oh man, like I just think about so many situations I could think back to. I'm like, oh, if I had only just been obedient and been willing, and I just took it. Lord, you told me to do this, and I do it. Lord, I'm supposed to take care of this, and I'm doing it. I love that. Like, it's just straight up like, I am doing this. I have blind faith. I have complete trust that what you're saying for me to do, I'm going to do, and that's it. Come on, somebody. Like, if only I had always did what the Lord told me to do, and I took it. I did whatever he told me to do. But this is where it gets really good. So when the master of the feast, he's like, he takes the water and it's made wine and didn't know where it came from. But the servants who had drawn the water knew. Ah, man, this is where the blessing comes into play. The servants who were being obedient, who were doing what they were told to do, and who just, followed instructions, had front row seats to the first miracle of Jesus. I mean, come on. I know they was probably like, I know where that water came from. I know where that wine came from. Like they literally were used as part of the overall miracle. I wonder, did the water turn and were they looking at each other like, do you see this? Do you see what's going on? Or did it only turn when he took that sip? And they were like, Jesus is at work. That's that man, Jesus, that told us to do this. I get excited about it because I'm thinking, how can I apply this in my life? How can I, in my position of serving others, in my position of whether it's at the church, at work, my family, my friends, a stranger, those who I don't even know, how can I be in the position of serving, be obedient, and working as unto the Lord and have front row seats to the miracles that he wants to do in my life and in the lives of others? Y'all, I'm telling you now, there is something to serving. It is not all about being in the front and always having the top position. Yes, those are things that we can aspire to, but even in those positions, we have to be willing to be obedient to the word of the Lord because we are always serving him first and foremost. And I hope you go back and read this verse again and think about, gosh, the Lord used these servants in performing his first miracle. He let them have front row seats. And oftentimes, I think we want to always know what happens, but imagine what we would do if we were just obedient, we were willing, we had blind trust and blind faith. Imagine what that could be. I hope you enjoyed Conversations with Carrie today and that you look at serving a little differently and know that it can be a blessing. Bye, guys.